So you can see that it is an absolutely beautiful winter's day when I am taking this video. And because of that, what's normally a very quiet walk, we've seen 3 separate sets of people, which is mobbed for this walk. And one of the sets of people was 2 men with a dog. She was a lovely, big kind of staffy cross, a brindle one. She looked very sweet. And they put her on her lead so that they could walk past without the dogs interfering with one another, which was absolutely lovely of them. And then after that we met a further 2 sets of people just on their own, no dogs with them, they were just on their own. And Roxy, so I'm making this to talk about reactivity in dogs. Now, Roxy's response, and this is fairly typical of her dealing with a dog walking past us that isn't going to say hello, is to growl at them and maybe bark and maybe lunge a little bit. She looks very fierce. The men with the other dog had a bit of a joke with me about, I don't think she looks that fierce because people generally respond by laughing. So I always think she just looks excitable. Anyway, as is usual, the men with the other dog had a bit of a joke with me and said, there's no need to be so unfriendly. And we had a wee chat as they went by and said hello to one another and that sort of thing. Now, I think that what happens, so a lot of the time we dog trainers say if the dog's barking like that is because they're frightened. Now, Roxy isn't really frightened of other dogs. There are some dogs for sure that bother her, and there are times when she barks to chase dogs away. Absolutely there are. And particularly if a dog comes over and Cullen gets annoyed with it, she will chase those away very, very rapidly. So it's not always barking for her, it's not always got the same meaning, but in this situation I think what happens is she sees the dog and she wants to say hello. And her greeting behaviour is she pulls to the end of her lead, she whines, she stares directly at the dog, she wags her tail frantically. It's not polite greeting behaviour between dogs. So normally the other dog goes, "Oh my God, you weirdo," and goes away from her. They either go as far away on the other side of their person, or if they're off lead, they'll often just bypass it altogether. And of course, when Roxy sees that happening, I think then she gets annoyed. She wants to be friends, and that's not going to happen. The dog is not going to come over to her. And so I think that she gets angry at that point. I don't know if she's angry at the dog, angry at me, just generally in a state of anger at the situation, but that, to my mind, is where the barking and growling and sometimes lunging comes from, is she's just annoyed because she's not going to make friends. And the reason I think that is because our greeting behaviour is exactly the same if we meet people. Not people out in the street, in the middle of a town. We see loads of folk in towns that we don't say hello to, and that is fine. But on walks like this, where normally we don't see a soul, if we see people on somewhere like this, Roxy's greeting behaviour to the people is exactly the same. She pulls to the end of her lead, whines, wags her tail frantically, stares directly at them. And the human response to that typically is to come over and pat her. Or if they don't come over and pat her, most people will at least stop and talk to me. I can get her to sit and ignore them, but they'll talk to me, they will often look at her, they will pay some kind of attention to her. So she gets some social interaction from them, even if they don't touch her. And I think that is enough for Roxy that she doesn't get annoyed and then tip over into growling and barking. So I wanted to talk about that just because I think there's a lot of nuance in reactive behaviour that isn't always captured or isn't always understood. And the assumption often is that the dogs are scared, and I think that's I think that is a brilliant working assumption. Assume fear. If you don't know any better, assume that they are frightened, because you're much more likely to be kind to a frightened dog than you are to one who is angry about something. People get annoyed with angry dogs. So, but yeah, and I think as well some reactive dogs are not frightened, but they maybe started off as frightened, but they've learned to be bullies. Like, there's a couple of dogs that live near me, and I have seen them absolute off their lead make a beeline from the other side of a field to dogs that they then terrorise, absolutely terrorise. It's really habitual behaviour. I've seen them do it several times, and they aren't doing that because they're frightened. They will actively seek dogs out to do that too. And yes, they're not terribly brave. If they do it to a dog that stands up to them, they go, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry, and they go away again. They're not, they're not going to get in a fight with anybody's dog. But there's two of them. They're large dogs, and most dogs that they mob are frightened and cower or lie on their backs, and then they have a whale of a time barking at them and charging at them and running around them and really scaring them. So I think there's a lot of nuance in reactive behaviour. I mean, obviously, if those two dogs were mine, I wouldn't let them behave like that. Their owner seems completely unbothered. I've seen him smile and wave at people who are trying to struggle with the fact that their dog's been terrorised and just wander off. It's really quite, I find it odd behaviour. But anyway, there's a lot of nuance in reactive behaviour. And that was why when we had these experiences on our walk today, I wanted to stop and talk to you about it. Just to give you things to think about. Because I think the more you get to know your dog, the easier it is to understand and anticipate what may or may not go wrong for them. In Roxy's case, we have been working on it for a while and we've managed to tone it down. We haven't entirely stopped the carrying on, but it is toned down significantly. She can stop more quickly. She doesn't tend to really bark anymore. It's more of a growl than a bark most of the time. And of course, that's the thing with working with reactivity, isn't it? It takes time. It doesn't matter how brilliant a dog trainer you are. It takes time and energy, and the dogs have got to learn whole new habits. Roxy was 5 when she moved in with me. I've got no idea what her history with other dogs was. We didn't get the rescue, got nothing on her when she was handed over. So I've really got no idea at all what what her normal interactions were like with dogs previously. I just don't know anything about her. So it's hard for me to say where it might have come from. I do think, though, it's not uncommon in staffies for their greeting behaviour to be appalling. I think they are quite excitable dogs, and it's not at all uncommon for them to be excited when they meet people, excited when they meet dogs, and that level of excitement, it can be really, really off-putting for other dogs. Dogs tend to be, in my experience, dogs are utterly horrified and stay away. Roxy is learning. She is learning. Sometimes, if it's the right dog and the right owner, and they hang around and talk to me for a wee while, then sometimes she can calm down enough to say hello to the dog calmly. And gradually over time, what I'm hoping is that she will have more of those calm interactions. Will learn that squeaking and pulling and staring aren't good greeting behaviours, and that if she wants dogs to come over to her, she's got to be a bit more like Cullen, who is very aloof. He's very aloof. He doesn't want the dogs to come over. He doesn't like making friends on walks. But dogs often really want to make friends with Cullen, and it's partly because he puts no pressure on them. He's really calm about seeing other dogs. And I think hopefully in time Roxy will learn that if she can be a bit more like Cullen and a bit less like herself, or tone it down a little bit, that she will get more and better social interactions with other dogs, because she does she really loves to meet other dogs. Anyway, just a few thoughts. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.